No, 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 no. What is Kefir thinking? They have added seasons to Frostborn, and I know a lot of us are really worried. Does this mean that Frostborn, that the devs of that Kefir is giving up on Frostborn? And I'm going to answer that in this video. Hold on, I'm getting some points right now. Oh my goodness. Okay. And I need to keep them all together, but I also need to not die. And once I get them all grouped together... Why did I lose a bunch of people? Sometimes I'm not very good at this. Oh, he hit me. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay, here we go. You're dead. You're dead. Oh my goodness, why is this so hard? Oh man. Okay, we got this. We're gonna survive. We're gonna survive. No, don't hit me. Okay. I think one more hit and these guys are toast. 2 more hits. Okay. We did it. We cleared the zone. We got a lot of points. So the question that a lot of players are asking right now is Kefir giving up on... Oh my gosh, what's happening? Is this a bot? This looks like a bot, but he's way more, he's healing. I don't think this is a bot. I think it is a bot. It is a bot. Whoa, they made bots more complex in this update. Wow, interesting. That bot healed? Wow, okay. All right. I'm intrigued by that. Okay. So, okay, but that's not the main point of this update. The main point of this update is they have added seasons. And to give those of you who are just Frostborn players, you've never played Last Day on Earth, you don't know why there's a big deal, you might be thinking, seasons are amazing. I've played seasons in PUBG, I've played them in Call of Duty Mobile. Seasons are an amazing thing. Why is the Frostborn community freaking out about these seasons? You would think that this would be a great thing, especially once we get into the seasons, you'll realize it actually may be a really good thing. But the reason why people are freaking out is because in Last Day on Earth, it kind of signifies when it felt like to players that Kefir gave up on the game. They were just trying to maintain the Google algorithm to keep people playing the game, but they weren't adding any new content. They weren't really doing anything that was worthy of adding to the game. Ironically, Kefir has changed their approach in Last Day on Earth, and they actually are adding new content again. But let's check out this season and see if we can find clues of what Frostborn is up to. So the first thing that I noticed right off the bat that I kind of liked is that they added Orbs of Protection in the free-to-play version. I think that this is them leaning into that change they made for us, that I think was a really good change. They're leaning into that change and they're saying, hey, you know, we're giving more options for orbs for free-to-play players. If you want to save up a bunch of orbs and then take a vacation from the game, we're going to set you up to do that. And so that's a really good change. You'll notice the influence points are crap for free-to-play players. So the fact that they have influence points in the free-to-play version is not good. The fact that they have marks and, you know, a white northern wolf in the paid version is not great, but it actually does get better. They added a few weapons. You can see you can get this new weapon, the Dragon Sword. The Dragon Sword actually is not that good. It only does 45 DPS, and it's got that extra 15% chance of doing a critical, which will be amazing when you get a hit, that critical. I mean, we're talking about if you get a sneak attack, it's 55 damage. You could really, you know, scare someone and they might run away. But if it's a good player, they're going to know that the Dragon Sword kind of sucks, and they're just going to realize, oh, you got a lucky hit, and then they're going to kill you. So I would say the Dragon Sword is not that good, But then let's keep going. So then we get to the... Here we can see... Actually, let me just do all the free-to-play stuff first. And then we'll go into the pay-to-win or the premium version. And so we're at level 10. This is all pretty easy to get. More influence points, which is really lame. But you do see, we got some steel plates, which is amazing for free-to-play players. That is a really good change. Some blue gear, kind of lame. They added the backflip emote in the free section, which I'm surprised by. Normally, I would encourage them to charge for emotes and stuff like that. But they gave it to you guys in the free-to-play section. And then this staff is one of the best staffs that they added to the game. It's a support staff, and it does 8 poison damage per second, which is not quite the fire bow, but it's a really good true damage weapon, and it's a support staff. So now, if you want to be a shaman, this is your go-to weapon. You're going to do a lot of extra damage. If you're going to be a sorcerer and you want that, that you're just trying to melt people as a tank, you're going to want this weapon, okay? Because it does a lot of DPS, 55 DPS, but it doesn't, actually, it does crazy DPS compared to like a Hell Staff. And so it's got good DPS, and it does that true damage. So we're talking about 55 damage per second plus 8 damage a second of true damage. So this is like the new fire bow for support characters. So if you're a shaman, you're doing a solo shaman, you now have a viable option. I think this is the solo shaman is now going to be a viable option in PvP because you're able to do so much true damage. You'll be like having a fire bow, but you also are really tanky, and they won't do as much damage to you. And you'll have the crowd control, you'll have the fear. I think the shaman is a viable 1v1 option now, which I love that. I love that they added that into the game. This staff is super rare, so you may not see it a ton, but it is a viable option now. And then if you're trying to melt a tank, which tanks have just gotten a huge upgrade in this update, I'm going to talk about that. But you can see here that if you're going to be a sorcerer, you're trying to melt that tank, or even if you're a healer and you're not as worried about giving your team armor and that extra damage, but you want that true damage. You're really trying to, if your team is going in the tactic of we're going to melt their tank, then the fire bow and this staff is what you want to melt their tank. You're going to be doing 18 damage a second to that tank if you do that well. So it's a really good combo. You want to keep that in mind. Okay, then we go on. Again, another orb of protection. Amazing. More horses, which is good. Then we get into another, we get into some maple, which is good. Maple's good for free-to-play players. Then we've got the Dragon Dagger. The Dragon Dagger is my new favorite PvE. Well, no, that's not true. The Fire Dagger is hard to compete with because of its sneak attack. But if you're doing anything that the Grey Cutter used to do, you are going to now want to do it with this. The DPS is just a little bit smaller, but it reduces their armor by 8, which is more than the Weakening Dagger or the Piercing Dagger used to do. So this weapon, like if you're doing Gorgons as a team, you want one of these weapons. Like this is going to be the Gorgon killer for sure. You want someone on your team to have one, and you can do what we did with the Piercing Dagger, where you just attack once and then you switch over to a different weapon if you're trying to save. So they did add silver at 35, which is good for free-to-play players. I wish they would have added more silver and less influence points. I think that they can have influence points in the paid version. That's something that a paid player might want, but it doesn't make sense to add influence points in the free version. So I'm a little sad about that. But overall, they added all the weapons, which is good in the free version. This bow is really interesting. It's like a dragon bow called the Dragon Bite, and it does additional damage in tombs. I'm going to do a video here soon where I kind of test it out in the Sanctum of Odin and see, does this work in Odin or just tombs? Because if it's just tombs, it's kind of weird, right? 15% damage is a lot, and so it would be the highest damage that you could imagine in a tomb. But when do we use a purple weapon in a tomb. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting. I don't not like it. I like diversity, so it's great, but it's also interesting. Okay, then they added some more silver, which is good. Then they added this weapon, which this weapon would be perfect. This is the Dragon Combat Staff. It'd be perfect for the Ice Mage, but the Ice Mage still sucks. I'm going to check it here in a second to see if they buffed it, but I'm pretty sure the Ice Mage is still not that good. And it's also probably good for the Illusionist a little bit. Maybe good for the Fire Mage. I mean, the problem is it does quite a bit less damage than the Odin's Wrath, or Wrath Staff. Sorry, it used to be called Odin's Staff way back long ago, and I still get confused sometimes. But it decreases. Oh my goodness, it's so hard to click. Okay, it decreases the cooldown on your spells by 15%. So it's pretty good. So it's going to be pretty good for any time you're really skill dependent. And so some fire mages, they like to use their group stun a lot, and so that might be good. I just don't know if it's going to, especially for a fire mage where your goal is to make damage, you're going to probably want to stick with the Wrath Staff. But Ice Mage, which I don't recommend using it, but if you are doing the Ice Mage, this is going to be your staff. And then the Illusionist is kind of a toss-up, because being able to throw down your people, being able to jump is really helpful. 15% reduction is like almost a 20% increase in how often you can use it. So it's good. I just don't know if it's going to really make it to meta. It's going to be okay. Like, people will use it, but I don't know if it's like, if you're on a real pro team, you're probably not. They're probably going to be like, go get a Wrath Staff. And then here's the Dragon Sword I was telling you guys about earlier. Not that great. Here's some more silver, which is great. But the Dragon Sword is meh. It's just not going to... It's worth having. It's a purple weapon. It's not crazy that it's a purple weapon, but it's not going to compete with the other purple melee weapons. It's going to be okay. And then we got some more steel here, which is really good for free-to-play players. And then they give you a black Northern Wolf as a free-to-play player just by grinding in the game. So this is an amazing change that they added. It is a level 1 wolf, but that doesn't matter, because even a level 1 wolf is going to have the potential to have those extra stats. As you get more horses and you kind of feed it and breed it, you're going to be able to get better and better stats, and you're not going to have to worry about the RNG of it all. So I think this is a really good thing. And then they added the best weapon, in my opinion, of this update is the Dragon Shield and Sword. So this is the Protector. The Nord Sword and Shield was already one of the best weapons in the game. This one has everything that Sword and Shield has. And then in addition to that, it gives everyone on your team 19 armor, which is more than Hellstaff gave us. So it's a very powerful Nord Sword and Shield that makes not only it makes you tanky, just as tanky as a Nord Sword and Shield always has been, but it also makes your whole team a little tankier, which makes them want to focus on the tank more often, which makes you do your job more often. Now, one thing that is important to note about this that I need that people need to realize is that even though it's going to make the tank even stronger, by adding a poison support staff, the tank has a considerable, it's going to be a lot easier to melt a tank. Very, very rarely did people bring a poison bow and a fire bow into a fight, because the poison bow just didn't do enough damage. But a lot of people are going to bring this poison support staff. Let's see if I can pull it up over here. This poison support staff, a lot of people are going to bring that because it does the highest DPS. It does more DPS than a Hellstaff, so especially sorcerers, but even a lot of healers are going to say, you know what, instead of us all doing more damage, let's try to melt that tank. And so there's going to be a huge meta. There already was a big meta of melting the tank. Now it's going to be even more so. And so that's going to make it to where a lot of team compositions are going to be built around melting the tank. And so, especially because if a tank has the dragon shield and sword, you're going to want to kill him, so it makes it easier to kill everyone else. The thing, though, is there was already a counter meta to that going on where tanks would start bringing a Dispel potion, and they wouldn't worry about damage reflect. They would use a Dispel so that, the team would try to melt the tank and they'd get them down to 100 hit points, and then they'd pop that Dispel Potion, and even though 4 people were attacking them, they would heal back up, because they were only doing the true damage, which was getting blocked so much. And so the tank would be able to take all that damage, and then that team would win. So it was a counter meta to the meta. Just to clarify for those of you who don't know, originally the meta was the tank was so powerful and don't attack the tank. But then people started realizing it's too hard. He can taunt us. Let's just melt the tank. And then they'd use the fire bow to melt the tank. And then that's where the counter meta with the Dispel Potion makes them waste all that damage, so the other team ends up winning. So you can see how the meta keeps kind of shifting back and forth, which is good. That's a good sign of a balanced game if the meta keeps kind of shifting. And right now we live in there's a lot of different options. Some tanks will still use Damage Reflect Potions and do great with it. Others just do Dispel Potions to avoid getting melted, and those teams do great. I think this is going to further... I think this is going to reduce how many tanks bring a Damage Reflect Potion, but that might actually make the tanks that do bring a Damage Reflect Potion get really good at using it, because a well-placed Damage Reflect Potion can totally turn the tide. So I think there's still going to be some tanks that use it, and I think it's going to even catch people off guard more, because I think the meta will be more and more tanks using Dispels. I think the meta will be more and more be tanks using Dispels. But the craziest thing, the thing that actually makes this season blow my mind, is the fact that this chest, the Dragon Chest, is actually, is available to free-to-play players, which is very different than a Last Day in our season. In Last Day in our seasons, when you hit that 60 mark, you would, the free-to-play players are like, okay, it's done for you. You have nothing left to do. And the premium players would still have a whole big thing to do. But that is not the case for this. They have made it to where free-to-play players can get these chests, and these chests have gold in it. Gold coins. So if you grind in this update, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot, because, you got to get to 66,000 to even get, here, which you should. But then you got to get another 18,000. So we're talking about 80,000, something like that, a little over 80,000, around 85,000 to get all of these rewards. But then, you keep going. And but if you get 200,000, if you grind really hard, then we're talking about a crazy amount of gold. Any free-to-play player, if you're willing to grind at this game, you can now get a repair table. The repair table is now viable to free-to-play players. And that is an absolute game changer. Okay, that changes Frostborn. The repair table was the most pay-to-win aspect of this game, and now it is available to free-to-play players if they grind for it. So I would say this season is pretty amazing just for that. But let me go into and talk about some of the premium rewards. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is that there's pretty much an entire metal room there's so many steel plates in this, the premium. So if you're looking to buy a metal room, well, premium's the way to do it. $4 for a metal room, and you get all of the other stuff in addition to that. I think this update is very free to play friendly, but if you're a pay to win, if you're a paying user, then premium's a good deal, and I think you should do it. You get all of the weapons doubled, which is great. You get, a little bit more silver, not a ton. You get more influence points, which is good. And and basically the main thing is you get all the weapons, and then you get a bunch of good Odin loot, full sets of purple gear. You get a few more of these giant chests or dragon chests, and you get the fire bow, and so you get a little bit more of everything. But honestly, it is not something that breaks the game. This is not going to give paying players a huge advantage over free-to-play players. So in my opinion, this is the best season Kefir has ever released. Okay, this is more free-to-play friendly, more intuitive. Oh, also, premium doesn't give you extra tasks, doesn't give you extra rewards. I actually expected even, a lot of great games that when they do a season, they'll be like, premium gets you 50% more points. They don't do that in Frostborn. So a free-to-play player that gets 200,000 points and grinds for that is going to get a lot more rewards than a premium player who only does 100,000 points, because these rewards is really the best rewards right here. So if you're a good grinder, this update is the best you could dream of. This season is the best that you could dream of. So now it is going to be a lot of grinding. You can see I've cleared 2 yellow zones and just cleared it all out, and I've gotten 440 influence points. Now I'm about to do a live stream, and it'll come out before this video comes out. I'm about to do a live stream where I'm going to go and do Odin's, and I'm thinking that Odin's is going to give a lot more points. It usually does. I'll probably do the Ice Abode as well. We're going to figure out what is the best way to get points. So go watch that live stream if you haven't already. And but I would say that when this update comes out, you're going to have 3 weeks. And if you want a repair table, if you want some of the best stuff in the game, this update is what's going to give you that. You're going to, honestly, seasons are not bad in and of themselves. The reason why the Frostborn community is freaking out about seasons is because of what happened with Last Day on Earth, where they stopped releasing new content. And the fact that they added 5 new weapons with this season, the fact that the devs have shared with me that this is not a big update, and when you look at the timeline, we just had a big update like 2 weeks ago, it makes sense that this would not be a big update. It's already out. It's just like a extra update. And so I would say this is amazing. It's amazing for free-to-play players. It's going to be good for Frostborn. I do still have concerns about Frostborn right now. What are they going to do? The seasons is concerning, just because I'm like, are you going to only do this? Which they already said it's not a big update, so that's fine. But in my opinion, the real make or break for Frostborn is what they do with the community, the roadmap, when they come up with the developers roadmap for Frostborn. This is one made by the community, made by a lot of the fans of this channel. We've kind of created what we're wanting, really focus on the arena, being able to have constant 1v1, 2v2, and 4v4 fun. If you can create that where we're always able to have fun and keep having fun, then it's going to make Frostborn explode. The devs have not released their version of this yet. I'm surely it's coming soon. I'm surprised that they released a season without first sharing the community roadmap, because it naturally is going to create a lot of fear in the Last Day on Earth refugees, as I like to call them. But I think that it is not. But as I said, this season is the best season I've ever seen Kefir make, so I'm not that worried about this season. I'm just more concerned, or not concerned, I just want to know, Frostborn, what is your plan? Come out with your roadmap. Let us see that roadmap. It is, in my mind, everything hinges on it. What is your plan? Tell us your plan, and then we can make decisions based on that. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.